Alright, here we go. Hello everyone, it's Jade Arrow here, and welcome to another 1v1 on the map, Arabia. This is going to be a little bit of a different matchup because we have in the blue, playing to the north, America playing as the Goths, and his opponent to the south of the map, and the red, Grizz, is playing as the Britons. So we have a Britons versus Goths matchup, which is not a typical matchup on Arabia, but I think it's really interesting and really want to see more of it. So here we go. Let's just look at their maps quickly. For America, he's got a fairly closed off map towards the front if he feels like walling it off here and over here, keeping his secondary gold safe. He can do that. Whereas on the right side, it's a little more open, but can still wall if he feels like it. Being the Goth player, he's probably going to do that and play very defensive against his archer enemy, because the Britons have good archers, so they're going to try to go aggressive against the Goths to make it difficult to get Huskarls in the castle age and really counter anything that the Britons player throws at them. So I'm gonna say that Grizz playing as the Britons, you know, he's got a fairly open map. It's not very easily wallable, and his main goal is pretty far forward. So even if it wasn't this matchup, he'd probably still end up playing very aggressively and piling on the pressure so that he doesn't have to play defensive with his gold way out. His secondary gold is either way over here, he wants to go for that, or way on his right side. So that's going to be kind of difficult for him. Right now, both players just scouting around, seeing what they can find. And about this point, America is going to find his second boar and his secondary sheep. He's kind of bringing in pretty late, as opposed to our Britons player, Grizz, down here. He got his in pretty early. The neutral sheep in the middle of the map still being unclaimed. But now Grizz is going out, probably going to end up finding those right now as he goes to scout his Goths player, his Goths opponent here, America. He's going to see he's pretty wide open on this right side. So we're going to see how he decides to play this. He's going to go aggressive with his walling and decide to close that off. He can do that and take over a pretty good portion of the map. Or if he just wants to play a little more defensive and have his archer range back at home. Just luring in his boar right now. A bit late on the timing. He's got some idle villagers, but not too bad for him. And at the top of the map we have America not luring his boar yet, deciding to go with his sheep first. And we have both of them doing a pretty standard build, all on food, but our Britons player here, he's actually only going for 3 villagers on wood, whereas our Goths player is actually doing a lot more. So that kind of sends off signals. Oh, never mind. He has a secondary lumberjack over on this side. So he actually has 6 on wood right now. So he's probably going to go for feudal age into double archery range, get archers out pretty quickly. That boar giving America a bit of trouble. Kind of stubborn, doesn't want to come in, but he'll probably get that without too much more trouble. And that's only his first boar. He's actually pretty late bringing his boar in. Where Grizz he's got his in just fine, and probably going to see him going up to feudal age pretty soon. He's building up the food for it, getting a nice eco going before he goes into that. And there's the war in finally for America. And both players still scouting around, seeing what they can find. And if we take a look at their scouting, Grizz actually just decided to scout his entire half of the base, didn't really go forward to find his opponent. And that could be difficult if he wants to go into archers. He's gonna have to find his opponent first, and he doesn't really know where he is, so he's gonna have to scout around for him and see what he can find. Hopefully he'll get there in time and be able to do sufficient damage. But if we look at America's Fog of War, he's actually got a lot less scouting info, and yeah, he hasn't decided to go forward either. So yeah, we'll just see what they decide to go for. Probably gonna send their scouts out soon to see what they can find, and hopefully they find each other in time. Both players getting ready to advance to the feudal age right about now. Reddy's on his way, and probably going to put down a barracks now and have enough wood for his double archery range. And 3 villagers on gold. He's probably going to add more in a minute so he can have sufficient archer production coming out. Now going ahead with his scout to find his opponent, and he continues going this way, then he'll find him right about now. There he sees his opponent's on gold. Interesting. From the Goths player, maybe he'll go man-at-arms, which actually isn't going to be that great against the archers. We counted fairly easily. But we'll see what he decides to go for. Just scout around, now finding it. Maybe use his scout right now, and he did. So he doesn't really have a lot of info. He knows where his main gold is, but he doesn't know where his lumberyard or his mill is. They're both fairly safe in the back. So yeah, he doesn't really know much, but getting the feudal age down, here comes the barracks, and Blue now going forward to scout his opponent. Could lose a scout right now. Yeah, it's probably gonna go down. And ooh, just getting away with 3 HP.
Yes.
They're laughing about it. Not quite a fair trade, but that's gonna be valuable for America here, because he now knows where his opponent's base is, he knows where his mill is, knows where his lumberyard is, so if he wants to pressure the wood, he can do that. He just barely missed the gold right here, which is a shame, because that's far forward, and that'd be the spot that he wants to pressure the most if he wants to go aggressive. But both players advancing to the feudal age. And Blue, just not sure what his game plan is here. He's going with a barracks and an archery range, so maybe archers of his own has the right build for it. Would be interesting against the Britons player. They do have their +1 range on their archers, so unless America has some pretty good micro, he's going to be outmatched. But America walling up defensively here. Not really deciding to close off this front here, but should be fine for now. Just got the first archery range from the Britons player coming down, and both players deciding to mill their deer, which is going to give them both a jump start to the castle age. And it seems like both of them are going for a fast castle strategy. Yeah, they both have the eco and the right build for it, not really going aggressive. That's really risky from the Britons player. He's actually deciding to go with skirmishers, but he doesn't know about this archery range, so the choice for skirmishers from him is really interesting. I think he's planning on going defensive, maybe getting a crossbow later on, but I don't know what his plan is here, because once our Goths player gets to the castle age, if he's doing stone, which he's sending villagers to stone right now, then he could get out of castle and start creating huskarls, which the Britons do have champions. They do have fully upgraded champions, so it's not the end of the world for them, but their cavalry not that great. And yeah, so to counter the huskarls, it's going to be fairly difficult. He's probably going to plan on going, maybe he'll do the champion upgrade to counter it. I don't know, we'll see. Both players kind of going forward with their army just to see what they can find and see if they can harass anything. But our cosplayer here, America, he doesn't have a ton of stone right now, and he's almost ready to go up to castle, as well as Ruthless. He's probably going to go up first, but we'll see what happens. He's going to go up to castle, and then really interested to see what happens. Bit of a feudal age fight right here, and Ruthless targeting the archer didn't quite kill him. It's always good to target the gold costing units first, because gold is one of the most valuable resources in this game. So if you kill the units, then it's basically a waste of resources here. And gonna see a fight here. Ruthless does have the hill bonus, so this entire feudal age army is gonna be cleaned up. So red now throwing down his market, and another archer range going up to castle now. And our blue player back at home, almost ready to go up to castle, because a bit much gold and not enough food. So he's probably going to go up soon. He has his archery range and his blacksmith, so he has the requirements to be able to go up. But both players being pretty defensive right now, which, again, if you're Britons against Goths, what you want to do is be really aggressive in the feudal age to hurt them as much as possible, because, again, if they get to castle age and get that castle up and start creating huskarls, then the Britons player can be in a bit of trouble here. But we'll see how it plays out. America now going up to castle age, and if you look at the score lead right now, Grizz actually has quite a substantial score lead here, about 200 in score, because of that fight there. He did clean up the entire feudal age army from America, but he also has, I would say, he has a bit of a larger eco, has a bit more farms. America is now putting down more farms, but now America going heavy on the stone. Probably going to have enough stone when he advances up to build a castle. If you wanted to be defensive, you'd probably put it right around this area here. But if you wanted to go aggressive, then put it up here in the middle to guard this stone here. Grizz now going, he's advanced to castle, so we'll see what he decides to do with that. Not really doing much, putting down a TC. Not the best placement. I would have put it probably around here, but because of that hill, maybe he couldn't and decided to back it up. But throwing down a TC, so he's deciding to go into a very eco-heavy, and now using his skirmishers to do whatever he can. Which now that they're both in castle, you're going to get knights or huskarls from the Goth player, so this feudal age army of skirmishers isn't going to be very effective. So do what you can with them, just use them to the best that you can. And throwing down 2 stables from the Goths player, probably going to see knights. He doesn't really have the stone to go through with a castle, so can't really make huskarls right now, and that's something that you need to do as the Britons player in this situation. If you know that you haven't put enough pressure onto the feudal age and your opponent's advancing, then just try and force them off of stone and hope that they don't have enough for a castle. Now we're gonna force America off of gold here, if he's paying attention. Or he's just gonna walk right by and let him have it. Maybe he's scouting around for the second stone from America here. I'm actually not seeing the stone from him. Huh. He's gonna be looking around for it. Oh, it's way in the corner here. So yeah, not the greatest stone placement. But both players to the castle age, and Chris here just deciding to boom up really and see what he goes for. If he decides to go for longbows, that could be interesting. Fighting under the TC, not the best idea, but really there's nothing these skirmishers can really do, so take out the archers, distract the people while you can, and make the best of what you got is really what you can do. I'm actually seeing stone walls from Red here. He's just gonna stone wall up this side. He's already got it right here, and up here he's pretty well walled, I guess. And he's got his TC in a very defensive placement here and here. On the right side of the map, he again could wall that off if he so desires. And putting another TC there, that's a great spot for it. He's got access to all 4 resources, the stone, gold, wood, and if he wants to make farms there, which he almost certainly will. America going with scouts right now. It's kind of an interesting choice. I'm not really sure why he would do that. There's really no reason for him to. I guess he's suspecting that the Britons player here is going to go for more skirmishers, and he's going to be prepared with his scouts, or he's just going to use them for some scouting info, just to see where his opponent is, what he's doing. Back on stone now for America. He has almost enough for a castle. He needs 3 more stone. You can put it up, and I'm curious to see where he'll decide to put it. Since Red kind of has booming eco and the map control right now, he's probably going to be defensive and put it somewhere around here. But he's actually deciding to go with a TC first, up here on the wood, on his wood line right here, which Grizz is going to see. If he keeps going this way, you'll see that. Pretty open TC here. It's next to his mill that he used, so that'd be good for our farm placement. But not the ideal location, but there's really not many good spots for the Goths, sad to say. Now, Britain's player is still making feudal army here, and probably going to be cleaned up by these knights, but we'll see what happens. There it is. There's his castle, deciding to put it next to this gold mine, also in defense of this town center. If it were me, I probably would have put it somewhere around there, just to be a little more far forward, but it could be delayed by this army here, and it's going to be, but these knights should be able to clean this up fairly easily. Yeah, and America going with his scouts, deciding to get some map vision. If we turn on Fog of War, he kind of needs it, because he really doesn't know what his opponent's going for. You can't really see much. You can see just in that market there, and you can see his opponent has a lot of farms, so you can guess that he's going into heavy eco, but he really doesn't know much else than that. He has no idea that his opponent's fully walled now, and has very defensive TCs. Wow, Grizz going wall happy up here. Just gonna wall off the whole map, which he easily can. Just wants to wall it off right there and over here. Very easy for him to do that. And yeah, really not much going on. We now have the castle from America, and he's getting anarchy. So he's gonna make huscarls from his barracks. He has plenty of wood to put down a bunch of barracks, but he doesn't really have the food eco for it. If you look, then not really a lot of food eco. You have a small pause here for both of them, but
don't point that thing at me.
yeah, not much going on right now. We'll just see what happens, I guess. So here we go, we're back, and we've got America's still getting stoned, probably gonna go for his second castle, but in the meantime, gathering up the relics around the map. He's got that one there, the one in his corner of the map, and one down there, which he has his scouts guarding. The fourth one is right there, right next to, right on the outskirts of Grizz base here, and the one in the back of Grizz base. So he's really not going to be getting all of them, but he'll have at least 3, which for the Goths player is a big advantage to have for the huscarl production. And if we look at the neutral golds on the map, really the only one that America could go for is on this right side if he decided to secure that there. The other one he could maybe get is this one towards the middle, but the other ones are on Grizz's side of the map here. He's got that one there, he's got that one, and that one. So he has 4 gold piles from the Britons player, so he's in good shape to just boom up and go full aggressive, which is what he's going to do here. He's going to put a castle on that cliff there, and going forward with siege workshop and barracks of his own, probably to add champions. But he also surprisingly doesn't have a balance of food. He has plenty of gold, he has enough stone for a second castle as well. His first one going up here, and we'll see if he decides to go longbows. That'd be an interesting decision from him. Also walling up this cliff here, and if he keeps walling, he could have half the map. But for now, there we go. He's queued up a whole bunch of longbows, so this is going to be interesting. And going forward with an outpost just to see what vision he can find, because currently he only knows there's one there. He sees the cast foundation. Doesn't really know if he's got barracks coming down or other castles. You can see that's there, but not really much else that did for him. Right now, just gathering up the relics that he has on his side, and just continuing to focus on his eco, just continuously making villagers, which is something that lower ranked players tend to forget, but in the late game, continuous villager production, you should always have about half your population in villagers. And you can see he has about 80 or so. So he's got very good eco right now. And America, if we swap to his perspective and take a look at his, he doesn't have nearly the amount of villagers. He only has about 60. So he's behind in production here in his economy. He's got idols standing around. He's going to want to replace the lumber camp there, but he's behind in eco, which isn't for the Goths player. He needs to have a strong eco to be making Huskarls right now, but he doesn't really have it. And in this matchup, being the Goths against the Britons, the main thing you need to focus on as the Goths is being defensive and getting a strong eco, which is kind of not happening for America here. He's going to be in a bit of trouble if Grizz decides to come forward. Grizz is playing this amazing. He didn't decide to go aggressive, which is awfully risky for Britain's player. America actually picking off the monk that went to get that relic there. But awfully risky as the Britain's player against the Goths to not go aggressive. If the Goths player gets a big eco, then they can just overwhelm you with numbers. But he decided to go for a full boom back at home, and it's really paying off for him here. If he wants to go into champions, he's got the eco for it. America, actually, our Goths player has a bunch of resources stocked up, but he's not using them for anything. He just has this one barracks here. He's not really doing much else. But now, Grizz is at imp, and this means the trebuchets are coming. They're going to be knocking down this castle, and that's going to be a big problem for America here. This is exactly the situation you don't want to be in as the Goths. As the Britain's player, actually getting light cav upgrade, so probably gonna go with archers and light cav, throw in some pikemen. This is a very bad position for America to be in. Now he does have, if we take a look at the resources up here, he does have more resources. The problem is he's not using them for anything. There's no point in having all these resources if you're not using them, and he's going to be finding that out the hard way here. He's going to be behind, and returning the favor, Grizz picks off that monk from America. But yeah, America doesn't have a great eco going to that stone. Gonna need to put down a mining camp. He has some idols standing around, and in lower ranked matches this is typically what happens. Players will focus on their military and neglect their economy, but we're not seeing military from the Goths player. This is really bad from him. He's got plenty of wood, plenty of food and gold to put down a bunch of barracks and start throwing out Huskarls, but it's not happening from him, and that's kind of what you want to avoid as the Goths player. You want to be real aggressive with your infantry, as you have some of the best infantry in the game, arguably. And yeah, he has enough stone for 2 more castles, but we're not seeing that from him. And again, just booming up from our Britons player here. He's played this really well, and if he decides to push forward, if we look at his point of view, he doesn't know how his opponent's eco is. He can guess based off the amount of farms he sees, but he doesn't really know that his opponent doesn't have the military buildings to back this up. So Yeah, if I were playing as our Britons player here, as Grizz, I would probably send in a light cav just to see what there is back here. And if I were to go in right now and see that there's idols here and can't find any barracks from our Goths player, then just send in the military you've got. That could be enough to finish the game. But right now, he's deciding to go scout around with these light cavs, seeing what's going on. And we have a small pause from him. And at this point, if you're the Britons player, you want to know what your opponent has, what he's got military-wise to throw at you, because as Goths, that's one of their strong points is having a large military. And if you were in America's position, then that's what you would want to be focusing on, is having enough resources right now, which he does, to be able to just throw out a bunch of Huskarls or champions if you felt like it. But that's not something we're seeing. He's deciding to just boom up, and I don't think he realizes how close Red is to his base. He now sees the longbows and the pikes right here, but he doesn't know that there's a castle here. His opponent's gone full forward, and doesn't know that this whole side of the map is walled off. He can probably guess based on the grass texturing here. You can see that's different, so there's going to be something there, but doesn't know just how walled up his opponent is. There's no sneaking around and getting to him. So yeah, now that he knows his opponent's going for it, he's actually throwing down a whole bunch of archery ranges. That's really interesting from him. Archery ranges from the Goths player is not something you typically see, but it makes sense. He saw the longbows, so he's gonna go into skirms. He's probably gonna get the elite skirm upgrade and decide to fight the longbows, but looking at the score, he doesn't realize how far behind he is. And his opponent only has like 2 or 3 longbows, so going full skirms and overreacting like that, yeah, he's all queued up with elite skirms. It's kind of a mistake from him. He should throw down some barracks right now and start creating Huskarls if you wanted to deal with the longbows. But he did also see that his opponent had halberdiers, so he's probably going skirms to get the bonus damage against halberdiers. I think it's 2 bonus damage, skirms versus halbs, but I don't know, it's an interesting choice. Now creating Huskarls from his castle, but it might be too late from it. It's going up to Imp now, so probably gonna get elite Huskarl. And this is the problem with making skirms. His opponent has light calves, which easily counter these skirms. See, 2, 3, 4 skirms going down just from those 2 light calves, and probably more if these Huskarls hadn't come in. So now he's gonna throw down his barracks and get the military out, but I don't know, it kind of feels like it's too late from him. We've got Grizz with light cabs in the back if he wants to go in and raid, and Grizz just keeping his economy in top shape. He's really done well with it. And I think if America were to look at the score difference, how far behind he is, he would probably call it quits right now, because with that much of a score lead, there's really not much you can do. You can know that your opponent has a large eco and a large military, but he's deciding to play it out, not going to Imp. We'll see. He straight away gets elite Huskarl and see what else he goes for. He's still making skirms here, but you know, that's not going to cut it against this. And now we've got the light cab raid coming in from Grizz here, and this is kind of the beginning of the end for him. he is kind of short on gold right now, so he's probably making skirmishers so he can balance that with Huskarls and just throw it all into that, but he doesn't have the gold income to have this many barracks full of Huskarls here. And if you were to go out right now, yeah, Grizz has champions. He knows Goths player gonna have Huskarls. He saw them earlier, so he's decided to go into champions, which is a counter to everything that America has here. It's gonna counter these skirms here. They're not gonna do anything against champions, and it's the best counter, arguably, for Huskarls because they're low melee here, and these champions are just as cheap, but better for our Britons player to go in here. He's running forward with his bills. He kind of knows this is towards the end. There's not really anything that America can do to stop this, and he's actually just kind of showing off and getting keep right now. No reason for him to. He's not going full tower rush here, but he's got the resources. He has the eco. If we look at his resources, yeah, he's got eco to put keeps all over the map to his heart's desire. You can put a keep in all of the four corners if you so felt like it. But bit of a trip board here. Yeah, America trying to shut down that castle, but now we're gonna see the fight here, and I think this is the point where America here, he's gonna realize that, you know, his opponent has Alps and champions. He's way outbalanced, and yeah, he acknowledges it, and there it is. There's the resign from him. So just looking back on this, I guess we didn't have feudal rush from Grizz here. He didn't decide to go full aggressive, so he decided to just boom and wall up, and that really paid off for him. And yeah, it's not something you typically see in this kind of matchup, but it worked because our Goths player here, he didn't have the strongest eco, and really doesn't have the counters. If he had a stronger eco, I felt like he could have done a bit more with his skirmishers and his Huskarls. But if you're the Goths player, you want to be piling on the pressure, so the Britons player can't get out champions, because champions can counter pretty much everything that the Goths player decides to throw their way. If they decided to go knights with the tech tree, the Goths player doesn't have the best knights. Look at his stable, he doesn't get paladin, so that's pretty much his main counter. He has hand cannons, but they do cost a substantial amount of gold, so you need the map control to be able to get the gold. But this was played very well by our Britons player here, so good job to him. But anyway, thanks guys for watching, and I will see you all next time.